Hi, this is Katie Schell. I'm an intuitive healer and spiritual counselor, and I work with several modalities, including astrology, embodied movement, and aromatherapy. And a lot of that all comes together with the work I've been doing with Lilith. And this is my introductory video on my new series called Being Lilith. From an astrological point of perspective, I have a very strong Lilith in my chart, and it's something that is how I make my mark in the world. It's a 10th house thing, and it's an important part of myself, but it wasn't something that I was completely tuned into until I was introduced to a particular way of looking at it. But once I recognized how she has been a part of me for forever, because she is, and how my life has been shaped by being a Lilith person, and how it has been an experience for me. And the thing about Lilith is, and one of the things about Lilith, and one of the things about the divine feminine, it's about, and I addressed this in another video, it's about being rather than doing. It's about following our instincts, following our intuition, following, I like to say, the nuanced intelligence of the divine feminine, which is different than the structure kind of the masculine. And Lilith is about being at our most primal essence. It's the most essential oil person. I like thinking about things being distilled. My Lilith is in Taurus. Taurus is about things being distilled down to their essence. And Lilith is about that. Lilith is about just being. So it's can be almost a contradiction to speak and recognize and discuss Lilith in ways, because we just have to be Lilith. And that's why I want to make this series in the way that I'm making it, because I want to just have it as a place to express all of the different things that come up with that. And it's going to take on different shapes and different forms depending on what is alive with me and what is activating my Lilith at any given time. So the topics that are going to be discussed and are going to be about this trusting our instinctual selves. And where does that come from? That comes from the thing for me is our bodies are these gifts from the Mother Earth. And we are, and I've got videos on that too. I've got a lot of videos. But our bodies are these gifts, are part of the Mother Earth. They're gifts from the Mother Earth, but they're also part of the Earth. You know, it is molded. You look at the story of Lilith, and she is literally, I talk about in another video, Lilith is fire. We were born in fire. Well, the earth was, molten before it was solid earth. And so that's true too. All of it's true. Like, we don't have to have everything put in boxes or to understand it, which is, again, something, that kind of structure is something that's very much a part of this kind of masculine desire to control things. And so Lilith was made from the dirt, from the earth itself. And so, so was Adam, and that's not part of the story that I'm needing to tell right now, because we are all made from the earth. We are part of the earth, and we need to tune into our own cycles, our own rhythms. And so that's part of this discussion. So it's going to be about trusting our bodies, loving ourselves, trusting our bodies, which is kind of my overall theme of all the work that I do. And so it's accepting unconditionally all of these parts of ourselves, and we have to be willing to be really aware. And when things come into our fields, when things come into our energy fields, noticing what shows up for us first. What is that first initial instinctual reaction to it, and recognizing and being comfortable with it, whatever it is, even if it's been deemed wrong, even if it's not necessarily the place or the time to express it, to trust it, that it means something. And so understanding that, my experiences with that are going to be part of it. It's part of the Lilith story is about sovereignty. So there's a lot about that, especially because of where I am in my own personal journey on this, that I am in the first time in my life in a place where I start most days and end most days alone. And that I am been on a journey of claiming my sovereignty for some time, and that has been part of a big part of my Lilith story. And it's this rage that has come from not having it. And so again, these are videos that I've already done, a few of this, and that I will add to the series. But I'm just, again, this is the intro video, and I wanted to talk about some of the kind of topics, the overreaching topics. This is not just for women, although women are the ones who, those of us who have the bodies of women, or who have a strong connection with the feminine. I'm not defining any of those terms in any of this. Feminine. The Lilith energy is very feminine, because it is earth energy, and earth energy is by nature is the divine feminine within us. And so, and we all have it. We all have that duality, and it's all, but duality is kind of, it's important because it allows us to see the reflections of each other, and allows us to see the different parts, because you can't see what you are unless you have something showing it to you. You can't, unless you see the opposite, but we all have both. And so that part is less a part of this discussion, maybe other videos, maybe other times, I don't know. But the subjects, again, sovereignty, rage, being a woman in a society where or more fluid or whatever, in a society where the masculine has been exalted and the feminine has been suppressed for millennia. And the parts of that are, again, needing to be brought up and healed. I have a video on that separate about the healing of the divine feminine. That was the first Lilith video I made. And this is more about, again, being Lilith, rather than kind of having these discussions about what it means to be Lilith and how it shows up. It is a living example. It is a living, breathing example of what it is to living with Lilith, living as Lilith. I thought about calling this living with Lilith. Part of this journey is always, and naming things is about, what domain names are available. And living Lilith wasn't. And so I thought about living as Lilith, living with Lilith. And that didn't feel right to me, because it's about being Lilith. Because the divine feminine is about being, rather doing, rather than, and that it's living with something. In a way, it becomes, there's a lot of different kind of thoughts that I had about that it's almost something separate from us. And when we get into this really primal part, it is without definition, it is without boundaries, it is without any sort of unique understanding. So it's not something that we live with, it is just something we are. And so that's why I like the idea of being Lilith, rather than I have my embodied Lilith series and workshop that I'm continuing to develop. And so that's about tools to tune into your Lilith. But this isn't about the tools. This is about the living it. This is about being it. This is about the experience itself. So again, rage issues, sovereignty issues, sexuality issues, which have, I'm in a new place. I'm in a different place in my life where I'm able to explore that in a way I haven't for a very long time. And it is enlightening. And I'm connecting with all sorts of parts of myself that I haven't been able to. But it's all part of this just living, and then living with our own cycles, understanding our own cycles, what we want, when we want, why we want, and not having to define it, and living from moment to moment in a way. Like the structures are necessary, and I'll go into that, that's fine, but that's not what this is about. This is not going to be highly structured because it is Lilith. It is because it is feminine. It is because it is non-linear. It is simply about being rather than controlling or doing or understanding. But by witnessing something that is being something, we're able to our more masculine part of our head, the mind, the part that sorts things out, is able to extract and tune into those pieces of ourselves that are, again, feminine, that are aware, that are that nuanced intelligence of the divine feminine that is taking in 100 different things that you can't explain, but you can feel and experience. And when I put my energy out there, as a Lilith person, other people can kind of feel their own Lilith energy, and I'm hoping to evoke that in men and in all, I'm going to say all genders. I want to specifically say men too need to do this, because this is we are all human, and we all have all of this within us, and it's a little easier in some ways for women to tune into it because it is the divine feminine, but we're also the ones who have been made to be wrong for expressing these parts of ourselves. There is a tendency to ignore or dismiss instincts. There's a tendency to ignore or anything that is connected with a trust within the body. And women, I believe, are given less of a, generally speaking, or people who are more feminine, are given less of an opportunity to express those things. And so by seeing it, by witnessing it, by doing it, I'm hoping to shift the dialogue and have this as a conversation piece, or as a starting point, or as just a jumping in point, I'm going to say, rather than a starting point, because it's, or a continuing thing, because nothing is very linear. And it's going to be an exploration of being human. I'm saying being Lilith because it's the most primal version of this, and the part that is angry, and that experiences rage for being suppressed, because that is what is Lilith. That is the face of the divine feminine. That is Lilith. Because it is the most wild part of ourselves. It is the most uncontrolled part of ourselves. And so it is the most feared part of us. And by embracing it and loving it, and being it, we all heal, and we all find a new place, a new way of understanding, a new way of being, connect, a new way of interacting, and a new way of understanding our direct connection with the physical world, with the planet, because we're able to experience those signals through the body that the Mother Earth is giving us. It's like we are a transmitter in a way that is able. Our bodies are a transmitter in a way that is able to receive these signals that the Mother Earth gives us in order to understand what it is we need to do at any given moment on the planet. And we don't always even like I said, we don't always recognize it with our brain, but we feel it with our body, and learning how to trust that. And so my experiences throughout my life, some have been, and it'll be some of my experiences where that has been suppressed, or taken advantage of, and I have felt shame or guilt, for not doing things the way, for not conforming to certain expectations, or all sorts of different terrible things that happen to strong people who express their strength, people of the strength of the divine feminine, and how, again, that is something that is feared and therefore controlled and suppressed or ignored. And what happens when those things kind of go, I don't want to say wrong, but when those things are pushed, and how they, again, then we either hold on to them or we let go. And so I hope that you enjoy this series, and I look forward to exploring my own experiences in this public forum. If you have questions or comments or your own experiences that you want to share, or things that you want to address, please let me know, because I do, again, as in my work, I address these issues. If I'm doing readings, it's going to be through True Black Moon Lilith, and again, I said stuff about that at the beginning, but it's not always just that. There are a million other ways that I can look at somebody's chart and see where they're ignoring their instincts, where they're ignoring their bodies, and where those things are being blocked. And those tends to be the places that we find the most, in a lot of ways, the most release, and in a lot of ways the most suppression, because it is something that is frowned upon by our society, at this time. And so things are changing as we're needing to find balance between the masculine and feminine, because that is how we heal, and that is how we move forward and grow. And it's hard work, and it's not all, it's rarely pretty, although it's sometimes pretty. One of my expressions of, one of the way my Lilith shows up is through the belly dancing I've been doing for 30 years, and dance and movement, because it is an expression of my body, and it's something that I can share with people, in a way that is sensual, and I get out of my head, even though talk a lot when I'm teaching my belly dancing classes. I don't do it as much anymore. I focus a little bit more on on other sides of movement, but it is this beautiful expression, because it's something that comes out. And so and I believe everything is I've seen people get rage, mad, and release that anger, and to me that's amazingly beautiful, when I see people allow themselves to be vulnerable in that way and open up in that way. And I do that, again, through movement workshops, as well as through spiritual counseling, especially through some of the astrology stuff. Well, that's generally the kind of the conversation starter is the astrology chart when I'm doing readings. But it's always about the conversations I have with people, and there's a lot of this coming up right now, and it will continue to, and I will share those experiences too. So please tune in, tell me what you think, and have a great day.